Canada just quietly moved over $1 billion into defense, and almost nobody noticed. But this changes everything, and what happens next could reshape jobs, industry, and even Canada's role in global security. CTV senior political correspondent Mike Latour reports a major shift in Canada's defense strategy, centered around a nearly $900 million investment in defense innovation. This includes new partnerships with the National Research Council and a push into advanced drone and aerospace technologies. Before we go further, if you want breakdowns like this that go beyond headlines, subscribe now so you don't miss what most people overlook. Because this story isn't just about spending, it's about a shift in national priorities. At the same time, the government has also committed roughly $500 million to a Bombardier surveillance aircraft, already used in Allied defense systems abroad. Combined, these moves bring the total impact to over $1 billion in defense-related investment in a single announcement cycle. And if you want more stories that reveal what governments don't explain clearly, make sure you subscribe now. But here's where things start getting interesting. Why is Canada making such a large defense push right now after years of underinvestment? For years, Canada has remained below NATO's target of spending 2% of GDP on defense, often sitting closer to 1.3–1.4%. That gap has not gone unnoticed by allies, and now Ottawa appears to be responding, not just with spending, but with a structural change in how defense procurement works. Instead of relying heavily on foreign suppliers, the new strategy emphasizes building domestic capability. That means Canadian research institutions, Canadian engineers, and Canadian manufacturers are now central to defense development. Subscribe if you're following how global power shifts are reshaping national economies in real time, because this next part explains why that matters far beyond politics. Is this just spending, or is Canada trying to rebuild an entire defense industry from within? The government's plan includes creating a drone innovation hub in Ottawa focused on next-generation unmanned systems. These technologies are no longer future concepts. They are actively shaping modern warfare today, from surveillance to battlefield coordination. Canada's goal is to reduce reliance on foreign systems and instead build domestic expertise in these critical technologies. Alongside this, the Bombardier aircraft deal highlights another layer of the strategy. The Global 6500-based surveillance aircraft is already used by Allied defense programs internationally, and Canada's purchase supports a supply chain of more than 65 domestic suppliers. That translates into hundreds, possibly near 1,000 jobs tied directly to aerospace manufacturing and engineering work. But analysts say this is not just about military capability, it is also about economic transformation. Defense research often leads to civilian breakthroughs. Navigation systems, communication tech, advanced materials, and even software systems that later enter everyday life. If you're finding value in understanding how global decisions shape local economies, consider subscribing. It helps you stay ahead of the headlines, because this is where the story becomes bigger than defense alone. Is Canada building weapons, or accidentally building the foundation of its next major tech economy? Historically, countries that invest consistently in defense innovation often see long-term industrial growth. The challenge, however, is consistency. Canada has announced major defense initiatives before, but sustaining them through political cycles has always been the difficult part. Analysts are now watching closely to see whether this $900 million announcement becomes a one-time surge, or the beginning of a long-term shift, because reaching NATO's 2% target will require sustained investment far beyond a single budget cycle. The drone hub, the aircraft purchase, and the broader industrial strategy all signal one clear direction. Canada is trying to move from being primarily a buyer of defense systems to becoming a builder and exporter of them. But that transformation will take time. It will require consistent funding, political commitment, and coordination between government, industry, and research institutions. Without that, experts warn the momentum could fade, as it has in past initiatives. Still, for the first time in years, Canada's defense strategy appears more structured, more integrated, and more economically focused than previous approaches. And that alone is why this announcement is drawing attention far beyond Ottawa. Because this is no longer just about military spending, it's about jobs, industry, alliances, and Canada's position in a rapidly changing global order. And the real question now is whether this marks a turning point, or just another cycle of ambition and delay. If you want more deep breakdowns like this, subscribe now so you don't miss what comes next. Canada has made a billion-dollar bet on defense, industry, and future capability. But the outcome will depend not on announcements, but on execution. And as more details emerge, the real story is just beginning. Subscribe now to stay ahead of the next developments, because what happens after this announcement may matter even more than the announcement itself.